What is up, everyone? Dan the Card Man back again. We have an update from Nat Turner regarding his infamous triumvirate Michael Jordan insert from 1997. If you're not aware, this was basically a card that looked like it had some surface damage and shouldn't have got a PSA 10 that it did. Now, to give you a quick reminder, it is the card on the right over here that has that piece there that looked like a piece of the card was missing. This is what a correct triumvirate insert should look like, i.e. you should see the piece of the card there. This is what Nat Turner's one did look like. Now, obviously, I did a number of videos on this, as did a few others, and it turns out they did a pretty good thing, right? Because Nat eventually addressed this situation and determined that, when the slab was cracked, he filmed this video, and it looks as though there was a piece of film or like surface protection that's on the cards at manufacturing process that wasn't removed when the card was manufactured or bought. Now, you can see them peeling it off there. It's in the correct spot, so it is the correct card. As you can see here, here's the card after it was removed, as you can see there, and then the piece of the thing that stuck to it. Now, this is basically what the card looked like before. If you go to the pop report now, it's obviously fixed in the pop report. You can't see that piece on there anymore. And again, it's pretty good that Nat came out and did this. It's just a little unfortunate that he hasn't addressed all of the other cards in question as well. Now, before I jump into that, I just want to quickly highlight that it is really good that Nat has flagged this, okay? Because the more transparency we have within the hobby, the better. Now, Nat came on and basically said there's two other cards, or there's actually three other cards in my second video on this situation that I flagged that could have issues as well. There was this one here, which I believe, if I remember correctly, give me one sec, is the Michael Jordan Bowman's Best Atomic Refractor. And it looked like down below and on this side, there was some issues with the potential card. It looked like some corner damage. And that basically said, and people who also asked this question, they think it's part of a corner damage is actually the printing. Grab some examples from eBay implying why didn't these guys do that in the first place, right? So I basically said, okay, that's pretty good. Now, let me quickly show you the other post actually before we jump into that. He also said for this high dimensions card, that piece over there is, not corner damage. It's actually part of the artwork, right? These are beveled edges on these bread squares, whatever you want to call them. That's just a piece of the card. Now, if you go back and watch my original video, I do say that this card and the card that I just showed you, the Atomic Refractor, are very likely to have been print run issues or centering issues. But the other card in question that he didn't actually address looks a little bit worse than the others. And I did ask him about this question, okay? So I do say here, what about the Champions of the Court, MJ, right? You haven't spoken about that. What about that one? He basically says, where I didn't see anything on that. I said on the back of the card, that looks like there's some damage. He says, it looks totally fine in person. I just handled it. Anyways, I'm done with this. I think it's pretty clean. No one should grade cards over the internet. So he had a bit of a pop shot at me there in saying, like, I don't want to talk about anymore. Like, you're wrong based on what you've said. Now, that might be true, okay? But I just found that situation pretty strange that he would flag these other two cards in the same video where I talked about it. This other card wasn't called out. Yet when everybody else made reference to my video in which those cards were questioned, this on the Champions of the Court card was also questioned in that same instance. Why wasn't this one talked about? And as you can see here, it looks as though there's some chipping to that corner and to the edge. And like I do say in my video and in my description and in my pinned comment of that video, this card is the worst of the three that I did flag. So I just find it odd and a little bit convenient that the one card that he didn't address even further was this one. Now, I do want to cut Nat some credit in this instance, in the sense that, he came out and gave us his update when he didn't need to, and he addressed those other two cards, so maybe he didn't actually see this one. I just find that a little bit strange. Now, he's also had a discussion with somebody about this exact same card on the Blowout forums. There's a PSA or thread on there on the basketball section about Nat Turner gets 10s while you get 9s. Check it out. Let's see if he does respond regarding this card by the time this video has posted. I might not do a follow-up at this stage. I feel like I'm getting pretty sick right now, so I might need a couple of days off. So I might not do any bonus videos for this week other than this one you're seeing right now. I just thought I owed it to all you guys and to Nat actually to come out and make this video, because obviously based on what I said in my first video, I turned out to be wrong. And a few people have grilled me for that. But at the same time, if I didn't make that video and ask those questions and flag these other three cards, would Nat have come out and addressed this, right? It's a good thing to ask these kinds of questions. I haven't done anything wrong. I didn't accuse anyone of anything directly in my videos, right? I raised questions and I basically said this could be just an issue. And it turns out it is just a basic issue. He's come out, he's addressed it, he's been overly transparent, which is good. Now I want to see him being transparent with this Champions of the Court card, because if he ignores the situation, like he said there, and he's done talking about it, as blunt as he was on Twitter, that's very, very disappointing. And I think I did imply in my last video that I probably did piss him off a little bit, based on some of the discussions I've had with the DM. So I'm not sure how much more information I'm going to get from the guy. But again, I feel like I've done my job in this situation. And Cardporn did a post today, actually, flagging this immediately. And I'm going to talk about this in another video. I'm doing a live stream with AIH this Saturday Australian time, which is Friday night US time. And I'm going to talk through a few things. Cardporn's probably going to come up in some capacity. But I found their video today pretty disappointing, to be honest, because not only did they post this immediately, pretty much, within an hour of Nat Turner doing his post on Twitter and doing his post on Instagram, when it took them over a week to post the news in the first place, right? People have lots of questions about Cardporn as an account and their bias, and there's some independence issues, and they're not reporting on certain things associated with certain people. They were so slow. They dragged their feet to post content that was pretty major within the hobby at that time. They took over a week to do it, right? And then, they post this within minutes or within an hour is, again, a little bit disappointing to see from them. But what was even more disappointing was something they said in their post, and I'll put up on screen now, where you can see here that it turns out there was no issue at all. It basically says, for the other cards that people also took umbrage to in the same submission, the ones I flagged in particular, he said Nat also explained that they were not dings, it was just a card of itself. He said, I wonder if all the people making all sorts of accusations about this will now make a retraction. Okay? Why do I need to make a retraction? I think that's a really, really dumb thing to do, especially coming from an account like Cardporn. Okay, I'm going to flag this in another video. I'm going to talk about it a little bit more. But given how many times within the hobby they themselves have gone off early and then haven't come out and apologized, and there's a video on my channel where I did an apology that Cardporn themselves ignored when they had the opportunity to come out and correct themselves, and to not do that and now call people out for doing the same thing that you didn't do, in my opinion, is a bit rich. All right, it's like the pot calling the kettle black. It's that Spider-Man meme where they're both pointing at each other, right? It's like, come on, guys. Like, you've done it yourself, okay? Don't go after people for trying to call this bullshit out. And like I did say in my comment here, a few people have liked it, where I basically said, I explained what I said in my video, right? Those two cards in questions that Nat corrected. We had reason to doubt those, but it turns out, there's nothing wrong with those cards. I also said the third card we're still waiting from, and like I do say here, this is before Nat replied to me. This third is still pending a response, but I assume we're going to get that. Based on what Nat said, we're not going to get that. Read into that how you want. It looks like the most damaged card of the three. Is he saying he doesn't want to reply because he actually doesn't want to reply and he's sick of having this conversation? Or does he not want to reply because, there are actually issues with the card? I don't know, make up your own mind. But like I do say here in this quote, and I think this is the most important part about this sort of stuff, if this question wasn't asked by people like myself or people like AIH or people like Retro Hoops Collectibles, maybe something like this would not have been addressed by Nat Turner. And that's a bad thing. The fact we got him to address and come out and feel the need to do this is a good thing for the hobby. It's a win for the hobby. We need more and more transparency within the hobby. This was a good step in the right direction. I hope it continues, and I hope we start seeing more of that, because we need to hold these people accountable. Like I do say in this very last sentence, Cardporn need to blame the graders, not the people trying to hold them accountable like myself. I don't need to come out and make a retraction. Yes, I'm making this video to let you all know that, I was wrong in this instance, but still the card shouldn't have got a PSA 10 with that piece of sticker still on the card, right? You guys get what I'm trying to say. You guys get the point. This kind of behavior is not a bad thing to do. This kind of behavior is good. We need to be actioning and calling out this sort of stuff. These companies are not going to hold themselves accountable. They've shown over the 30, 40, 50 plus years, right? These manufacturers, they all take the piss. They all take advantage of you as a customer, especially during this boom over the last 2 to 3 years. They've done everything they can to maximize as much profit as possible whilst, reducing the amount of value they're giving to you as a customer. We are not the bad guys for calling out this behavior. And it's really poor of Cardporn to try and imply that. I don't know if that's what they meant by their words, but that's how it came across to me. And I think that's really, really poor form, especially from somebody that has made many mistakes in the past and hasn't always corrected them. So it is what it is. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.